supporters of Ron DeSantis say is validation. The Florida governor played a shocking video at the start of a press conference yesterday. You won't believe it. It showed sexually explicit content found in Florida's public school libraries and illustrated in great detail these books across the state. These are some of the books spotlighted in the video. The images in the books are so graphic that local TV outlets reportedly had to cut away from the press conference. And here at Fox News, we've even had to blur some of those images. It's also the reason that we will not show you that video right now. Governor DeSantis railed against the graphic material in schools and slammed the hoax that taking these books out of the classroom is a form of book banning.
We've heard different things put out. There was a Duval County school video where they took a video of empty bookshelves and they say the state of Florida doesn't want books, you know, they're trying to censor books and all this stuff. Turned out that was a hoax. They tried to say that you're not allowed to teach certain basic things that we require. Some of those folks have been put on discipline and will likely lose their jobs. So a lot of that, what's been going on, is an attempt to create a political narrative. And it's a false political narrative.
So, Kellyanne, there are 119 pages that you can find of these books. They are on the Florida governor's website. I received them last night. I was looking through the images, the pictures, the words, and I became queasy. I have a 3-year-old daughter. 2 years from now, she'll be in kindergarten. I emailed some contacts in the Florida governor's office, and I said, these couldn't possibly be found in K through 12 libraries or on a teacher's desk, let's say. This must be from public libraries. They said, no, all of these images are in public libraries public school libraries or on a teacher's desk, some in elementary schools. Listen to this. Some of the words in the elementary school book, which was found in my home county of Hillsborough County, Florida, according to the governor's office, instructions about how to have non-painful sex, discussions about lubricant, self-pleasure, using the explicit M word there, venereal diseases, bisexuality. Here's a direct quote found in a elementary school in Florida. I decided to start living polyamorously just over 3 years ago. I've had a number of monogamous relationships before that point, but throughout all of them, I was constantly struggling with the fact that I wanted to be with other people. Since then, I have dated maybe 25 people. Another book called It's Perfectly Normal shows depictions of various types of couples in bed having sexual intercourse. Why does my daughter in 2 years need to learn this or have access to this material?
She doesn't, and thankfully she's got you as a mother. The parents' rights renaissance sweeping this nation is real, and it's rooted in part because of the COVID lockdowns. But the same people who locked down our children for too long, made our kitchen islands the classrooms, had screen time as school time for too long. They did not stop and say, oh, wow, now declining test scores, a lack of math and reading proficiency. They went right for the curriculum. And they're the ones putting this garbage right in front of our children. We all saw the 11-year-old boy reading from the book that the librarian or someone in the school gave him. And she offered him something, quote, even more explicit, to the point of this in Florida. And he said, I'm going to tell my dad. And she tried to walk it all back. She was embarrassed. So this is going on in many places and spaces. This is not what Governor DeSantis means when he says, make America Florida. So I'm so glad he's called this out. Let's remind the viewers, because a lot of them are liberals who love to watch Fox News. Thank you for the ratings. We're talking about kids. And yes, I've got 4 of them, school-age kids. And so do many people watching this program. You don't even need to have kids to know this is just wrong. What happened to getting back to the basics? You see in Lori Lightfoot's Chicago, 55 schools say no proficiency at all in reading and math. You see it happening in Baltimore. You see these kids just suffering because they're not being taught the basics. And when you drop your child off at school 2 years from now in kindergarten, you and your husband don't cede you don't relinquish your parental rights because you dropped her at school for a couple of hours. She's always your kids. And I want the parents to know you have a voice and you have a choice. Get more involved in the school boards. Get more involved in the curriculum. Don't be afraid to speak up, and don't wait to be invited to speak up. Go and look in the libraries and see what's there. These are not adults. Last point. In this country, too often, we're now treating children like they're adults and adults like they're children. Can we get that back? Can we get the natural order back?
Exactly. And while we couldn't bring you the images from that elementary school book, you can find them on the governor's website if you'd like. We do have some images from high schools, books found in high schools. And I want to warn viewers before we put these up, this is very hard to look at. It's sexually explicit material. If you have kids, take them away from the television. Emily, this is from a book called Genderqueer. This is a depiction of individuals engaging in fellatio. This was found in high schools across Florida. There's another page from this book of images of adults having various interactions. You can see that there in the bottom half of your screen. These books also found in Texas and Virginia. It's a book called Genderqueer. And secondly, a book called Flamer. I want to pop up that image too. It is a woman, it appears, in a shower with a boy on his knees. This is the material that kids need to learn in high schools.
You're right that it's absolutely nauseating, Kaylee, and it's a primer, it's an instruction manual of how to exist in the liberal, left, woke society, which has absolutely eroded all fundamental family values and senses of personal dignity, as well as protecting children's innocence. Digging further, it also includes how to sext appropriately, right? Cover up birthmarks, cover your face. It includes an instruction manual on how to download apps to make it easier to have, quote, casual intercourse. It depicts young boys performing sex acts on each other at Boy Scout camp. The government should not co-parent with the biological and parental figures in a child's life. And that is exactly what is happening under this administration that has a tied yoke to the school unions and to that liberal left woke ideology that is absolutely destroying youth and the sanctity of families and that innocence. And I have to point out, against the landscape, as we now know, thanks to the CDC, of the explosion of sexual assaults of young adults, including an increase of 20%. Nearly 20% of young women have been the victims of violent sexual behavior in 2021. More than 1 in 10 had been raped. That's an explosion of 200,000 in just 2 years. And by the way, the percentage of female high school students who reported experiencing that sexual violence by anyone in the past year, that's nearly 4 times higher than young men. And I can't help but drawing a parallel between the cavalier quality of and the liberal access to these materials and that kind of culture where it's casual sex, so therefore it's okay. Polyamorous, 25 people I've dated by the time I'm in 5th grade. That cavalier attitude is exactly why people feel emboldened to take advantage of others physically to the tune of sexual assaults and worse.
It's so true. Dagan, meanwhile, the media is covering for those images that you just saw on your screen, because this is what Brian Griffin, press secretary for Ron DeSantis, received from a reporter. Hello, my name is Ashley, and I'm a reporter with Channel 9. I'm covering a rally tonight in the city. They're specifically saying, who is they, that this is part of Governor DeSantis's anti-black, anti-immigrant, anti-woman agenda, to which Brian Griffin responded, great news for them. There are no books banned in Florida. Any adult can buy any publication they want. Again, warning our viewers, I want to put up the images that are problematic, that accordingly make Governor DeSantis anti-black, anti-immigrant, and anti-woman for taking out of schools.
Well, every group deserves an education. And this is not part of being educated in this country. And the focus on this indoctrination is the reason that in the United States, in the developed world, kids in the U.S. rank 27th in math, behind China, Beijing being near the top. We rank 18th in science and 13th in reading. So in the middle of the day, in the middle of the school day, Ron DeSantis, the governor, has his display, and adults and babies and toddlers are at home or at work. And these books were not appropriate to show on TV feeds, but they are somehow appropriate for schools, for minors. So kaboom, TNT, Ron DeSantis wins the argument and wins the day.
Chris, who is doing this? It'd be nice to think it's a rogue librarian, right? But this was, by my counts, the list that I received, nearly 10 counties in Florida had these books. Texas, Virginia had Genderqueer. Is this an organized effort? Who is doing this?
It almost appears that way. Education is supposed to be the great equalizer, right? It helps shape the character of the future leaders of our country. And this is what they're being exposed to. This is crazy. Pornography in elementary, middle, and high schools in these books, because that's what it is, has no place in our public education system. In fact, we also have to talk about the consequences of what this could lead to. There was a study I found from 2008. This is before the boom of TikTok and social media and everything else that these kids are exposed to, that a survey of kids aged 10 to 15 who were reported to have exposure to pornographic materials were 6.5 times more likely to report sexually aggressive behavior. This is all at a time when globally we're getting killed in education by China, who ranks #1 in all 3 categories you mentioned. Russia is ahead of us in math. We have some serious problems in our education system, and our priorities are messed up. We've got to refocus.
I don't know algebra, but that book can teach me how to do fellatio. It's foul.
It's wrong, and I'm going to go so far as to say abusive. Children should be taught that they are loved, that they are unique, that they are created special, and they should feel special. They shouldn't be taught this cultural filth.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.